Hi, this is Yolanda Vanveen, and in this segment we're going to talk all about peonies. Now, peonies are a beautiful flower that blooms late spring. They're one of the highlights of my garden because they bloom in between the tulips and the daffodils in the early spring and before my lilies in the summer. And so they're a great in-between plant. And they start just by a root or a tuber. And so it's a rootstock, and they have little eyes all over them. So you plant those only 1 to 2 inches deep. You do not want to plant them too deeply because they won't bloom. And they need full hot sun and cold winters. I have found that the colder the winter, the more blooms that I get on my peonies. So if you live in a really warm climate, it's really hard to get blooms on them. So the colder the climate, the better they do. So don't plant them next to the eaves. Put them farther away from the house where they're going to get a little cooler. And make sure to give them enough room because the roots will expand and they will come up and bloom beautifully. And they will fall over if they get top heavy if there's not enough sun. So give them as much sun as you can because they really like the hot heat. They make a great cut flower too. You can cut them and keep them in a vase for a couple weeks, and a great plant to have in your garden. And even through the fall, the foliage is really fern-like and beautiful, and it will turn a nice red to bronze colors through the fall, so they add to the fall colors too, even when they're not blooming. So they'll come back year to year to year, and the only problem with them is that they don't always bloom the first year. Sometimes they take 2, 3, 4 years to really get blooming. So I like to start with at least one large clump, or at least 3 or 5, and put them together so that they're really crowded, because they'll bloom better if they're crowded. And when you divide them out or dig up a plant that's been at one place for a long time, sometimes it takes them again a couple years to establish themselves and bloom again. They really need a good root system. So try not to damage the roots or keep them really solid if you're ever moving them. And the best time to move them is when they're not blooming, so either in the fall or the middle of winter or early spring. But peonies are a great addition to your flower garden.